All right, so welcome. Thank you everyone for coming again. Again, mostly regular, so this is good. We're going to spend maybe 10 minutes reviewing what we went over last week. Um, Nothing super fancy, but today we're going to be learning some of the fancy stuff. Classes and objects, including things like inheritance, polymorphism, and all these big giant words that are really important on software engineering exams. So, very important. If you don't know these, they'll pretty much fail you immediately. So, let's again take a few minutes to just review what we went over last week. So last week we went over modules. Remember, sys is one of the built-in modules. It allows us to access things with regards to the system, including the arguments given to this file. The arguments being things that can be shown on the command line, such as if you were to do something like, I gotta figure out a better way to manage this. Such as if you were to do something, something like, if you were to do something like, if you were to do, like, argument in this context would be an argument to the script. So it would look for that as an input to the script. Again, this is kind of just review from last week. And in this case, we had arg0 is always the name of the script, and then any additional arguments will be 1, 2, 3, so on. And then we went ahead and we made our own module. So if you, let's go ahead and get rid of that. If you look over at report, this is a module that we made. A module is effectively just a file. And it contains any number of variables, functions, whatever. And you import it by name. In this case, the file is called report.py. And all we did was take report as one of the modules we're importing from, and then we can import individual functions from them. In this case, get description. Let's go ahead and do this. There we go. And in this case, we imported the get description function, which is right there. And then we renamed it to, clicking is hard, to DES just because we're lazy and don't want to type that big long name. And as kind of a reminder, functions can take inputs as well. They're called parameters. In this case, this took in a number, and that number would be which weather option we wanted to output. So we took in some number, and then we returned that position from our weather options. And so, we were able to call this getDescription function that we renamed as DES. We stored the weather in it, and then we output that. Yep, so again, just review from last time. We also covered where packages or where modules are searched for. It starts in your local directory, and then it searches in the Python site packages folder, and then in the Python standard library. So, not rocket science. Any questions? Or was that? Sorry? Is site packages. Yes. Yes. So if you, yeah, let me show you real quick. And I apologize that there's a delay every time I open a window. It's because I need to make sure it's captured for the recording. That's very unusual. Let's just roll with it. So it ends up being stored in, on Windows it's a giant pain. On Mac it's a lot easier. But it is programs, Python, lib, and then, where is it? Site packages. Okay. So that, yeah, basically you search for that. That also exists on Mac. You don't really need to know this consciously. This is only if you're really developing modules and something's really funky. And again, that path is, for Windows folks, the path is something like users, your user, app data, local, programs, Python, the Python version, and then lib. It's a mess. Yeah, you would just Google it. Yeah. So yeah, any other questions? Or are people pretty bored? All right, now we're going to get into the fun stuff. Okay, so everyone should have, previously to starting this, everyone should have, oh, come on. There we go. Everyone should have this installer, or have the software installed already. If you already have it installed, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to be patient for a moment. If you don't have this, either download it. It should only be one or two of you downloading it. It should take maybe 20 seconds at most. It's called PyCharm. Yeah, and beyond that, if you haven't installed it yet, go ahead and walk through this with me. So we're going to go ahead and run this, and then I'm going to have to play with the window stuff. Oh, here we go. So you should have a window that looks something like that. Oh, that looks terrible. Let's fix that. There we go. Good enough. And so you pretty much just want to keep hitting next. For you Mac people, it'll be a lot easier. You can create a desktop shortcut if you want. You don't have to. I recommend creating a file association. So if you have a Python file, it'll just automatically open in PyCharm. And this is just what folder you want to install it in. The default is fine. And then you just do that. So why are we installing PyCharm? PyCharm is something called an IDE. It's short for Integrated Development Environment. So what we have been doing is we've had a text editor, and then we've been using command line to actually run our script. An integrated development environment is many of these things built into one. It has its own text editor, and it has a runtime, basically a way to run your scripts, and it has a debugger, and it has documentation, and it has navigation tools, and it has just a whole bunch of things to make your life easier. Many people will start out with an IDE, just because, again, it makes your life easier, but the reason we started with a text editor and command line is because there will be a day where you need to build something very quickly, and you don't have time to download the IDE, install it like this, and then get it all configured for your work. You're not going to have time for that, so you'll just need to open up a text editor and just go. But since we're going to be doing something much more complex today, it's a good chance to start using an integrated development environment. So yeah, good timing. And then you can just run it, and it may or may not do this for me. Is it going to... where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. So mine went straight to this window because I had installed it in the past. But you might get some message about whether or not you want to import settings, or if or what theme you want to use. Personally, I recommend the Darkula theme, which is a black background with light colored text. It's just easier on the eyes. But yeah, has everyone got it? Is everyone in the process of and you want to hit don't import settings because you don't have any. You've never installed it before. So again, that didn't show up here because I had already installed it. But you should a little window might pop up that says, "Do you want to import things?" Just say no. All right. So has everyone got PyCharm up and running, or it's in the process of opening? What? Oh. Yeah. Okay. Are you on Windows or Mac? Ah, crap. Okay. I don't have the installer. We can toss it on the USB and pass it around, but it might be faster for you to just download it yourself. Oh. Okay. Cool. That works. Then you can follow along in a text editor for now. Um, hmm. Cool. All right. So you'll come to a screen like this. You'll want to go ahead and create a new project. And it should already be able to find your version of Python. If it doesn't, well, I'd be very surprised. And your project, you put it in the location of your choice. I'm just gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna call it for now. We're gonna call it classes, because today we will be going over classes. So go ahead and hit create. Ah, crap. I don't know if the recording caught that. Oh, well, it caught that. Sweet. There we go. Beautiful. Where'd it go? Is that no? Let's not do that. Okay, cool. All right. So is every okay? It looks like we got some people catching up. It's not finding it. Okay. Yeah. So huh? Yeah. I don't remember what W is. Right. So don't you want? Oh, the idle. Yeah. Okay. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Cool. So is everyone at a screen that might be like this or similar or getting there? We got one getting there. Hmm. Oh, it didn't find it for you? Oh, yeah, let's just do this super quick. Oh man, okay. Users. Is this your user? Cool. And then ugh, really? God, I hate IDEs sometimes. Where's app data? Huh? Huh? May I? No, 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 no. This. Oh, what is with? Okay, we'll just do it this way. Ah, where is it? There we go. Hidden files. Hey. All right. Cool. So now, let's redo this. Oh, really? Sorry, guys. Give us just a second. Is anyone else having trouble getting it to find their interpreter? Okay, we'll just do it this way. Are you are you having trouble too? No? Alright. Python. Okay. And the only reason I'm doing this for you is because you'll never need to do it again. So, yeah. There we go. And then once that happens, just say create. Alright. Alright. Is anyone else not at a screen that looks like this? You're waiting? Oh, is it still installing? Oh, okay. Wow, this looks like crap. What the hell's going on here? Let's try this again. Almost there, folks. Okay, there we go. Cool. All right. And okay, so it looks like you're just about good. Cool. And then a tip of the day will come up. You can just close it. Are you good? Cool. Everyone's good? All right. And you're still waiting? Okay. You're good? You guys? Cool. All right. Let's continue. So you should be at a screen that looks like this. This is kind of your standard view. Um, so this is PyCharm. It has a nice syntax highlighting, just like Atom does. But it also allows you to manage multiple files and see their structure as well. And that's what we're going to use mostly today. So for now, go ahead and right-click this classes right here. This is the name of your project. And go to New. And let's just do a Python file for now. Okay? And let's call it, let's just call it main.py. All right? Oh, that is gross. Can we fix that? It should only take a second. Appearance. Where is the editor? Editor. General colors and fonts. Scheme. Darkula. Does anyone else have it look funky like this? No? Okay, cool. That's just my machine. All right. So you should have should look something like this. And so today we're going to go over classes and objects. So classes. So in the past, we've worked with other data types like integers, booleans, strings, lists, tuples, hash or dictionaries. All of these are different types of objects already in Python. But we can define our own that have their own properties and methods and ways that they can do things. So that's what we're going to do today. When it comes to classes and objects, sometimes there's a little bit of confusion. You can think of a class like the blueprint of what something is, how it behaves, what it knows, all the things that it's capable of, and then an object as the actual building built from the blueprint. Okay? So defining a class in Python is really easy. You just go, oh, let's make this bigger, because I'm sure you guys can't read that. Or at the very least, I know I wouldn't be able to. General colors and fonts. Font. That's right. I had to make a copy in order to make it bigified. Bigify. All right, that's a little better. Beautiful. Can you guys in the back see that? Okay. So we're going to define a class. Let's just call it, we're going to go with that one? Yeah, let's go with the vehicle example. Okay? For those of you in the Java group, you're going to be like, oh god, not again. Okay? And then Python's nifty because it allows you kind of a short-change way of doing things. You can just say pass, and it'll be like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to kind of forget. So these two lines, we've created our own type of object. We can create instances of this. We can do all sorts of fancy things. So let's actually try that. I'm not sure. I haven't tested this, so I'm not sure if this will work, but let's go for it. So let's create one called myVehicle. We can just do something like this. And you can save that. And now we're going to get into some funky stuff specific to PyCharm, once you guys get this written down. So what we're doing here is we've defined our own class, and then we're immediately using it. This isn't ideally how you'd write an application, but again, we're learning. Is anyone having trouble reading that in the back? No? Okay. So then, in order to run it, we have to tell PyCharm how to run our project because it could be any entry point. So you want to click this this arrow right here, and then a window should pop up that I now have to add to the stream. That shows basically any running configuration. So we can just say default, just expand defaults and select Python. This is saying that we're going to run a default Python script, and then you'll have this script one right here. You can just click the dot dot dot. Oh god. And then it should have your main.py right there. We're just telling PyCharm, hey, this is the file that I want to run when I say just go run a file. Okay? So you should, again, you'll see the little file, the script thing, you'll click the dot dot dot, and it should navigate to your project. And then you just select main.py. And then that's pretty much all we need. You just do that, hit OK. Okay. And then, wait, what? What? Hold up, I might be, why didn't it, wait, am I an idiot? Yep, I'm an idiot. Okay, actually, hold up. There we go. Why doesn't it show up there? It did it last time. That's so dumb. Oh, that is so dumb. Okay. Well, there's another way to do it. You click this. Cool. You instead click this plus symbol right here and do Python, and then yeah, it's all just filled out. You can give it a name if you want. We're just going to call it classes main in this case. You can call it whatever you want. That doesn't matter. And hit OK. And there we go. Now it shows up here. Okay. So far so good. Now if we just hit run, there we go. So it found Python. So I had to highlight it for the stream here. It found Python. And then it ran our script using Python. Can I make this bigger? Maybe not. And then in this case, we just printed my vehicle. Since my vehicle doesn't have anything inside it, it just printed this memory address, kind of like we did with printing an integer last time. Or no, that was Java. Never mind. And exit code 0 means that it exited successfully, that there were no problems, no errors, everything is cool. All right, has everyone got to this point, or do we still have people catching up? All right, what do you got? Okay, so hit that. Huh? Oh, man. All right, so do run. And what? Yeah. Or turn it up or off. Cool. Crazy voodoo magic. Okay. Why would that happen? It recognized your Python interpreter. Oh, your project. Oh, the project is the entire folder. Okay. Go up. Yeah, in this pane. Right-click the project name. That one. Yeah, right-click that. You're going to want to make a new project. Yeah. Close project. No, you want to do close project, and then it'll bring the, yeah, and then create new project, and then just go with that. It'll create a folder called untitled, and there we go. So now you should be able to make a file like we have up here. So yeah, you got it. Cool. So okay. All right. So yeah. What's up? Hmm. Oh, it doesn't have a script to try to run. So select this guy, select your script. Okay. And now that's the script it's going to try to run. Now, cool. All right. So now this is cool. We have made our own object, but it's not doing anything useful. I have to refer back to what the best order to do things is. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, this is how we create an object. But maybe we want to maybe we want the object to do something when we create it, right? Like maybe set some data or print something out. Let us know that things are going okay. So in Python, or I'm sorry, in the general object-oriented world, there's a special type of method called a constructor. The name is very descriptive and actually fits our metaphor very well. If you have a class as the blueprint and the object is the building, the constructor is the method that takes the blueprint and creates the building from it. Okay? So in Python, to create a constructor, you define a new function, just like we've done in the past, but this time it's inside our class. You can tell it's inside due to the indentation. And constructors in Python are underscore underscore init underscore underscore, which is just how they decided to do it, because they thought it would be pretty low chances anyone would accidentally make a function with that name. And then you have parentheses, and then PyCharm is really smart. When you do the parentheses, it just does that for you, because it's so fancy. And then we can say print vehicle created. And then if we run this guy, you'll see that when we create the vehicle, when we do this right here, this creates the vehicle. It implicitly calls this constructor. Okay? So when we call the function that is the class's name, we're effectively calling the constructor. It creates our new object, and then we can go ahead and use the object. Any questions so far? Yes, no, maybe? Cool. So you might be like, okay, cool, I can print something, but like a building has attributes, right? It might be so tall, or it might have so many windows, or it might have a fancy elevator, or you might have to walk up only stairs, right? So different types of objects in the world have different properties, different attributes to them. So we can go ahead and define our own attributes. In this case, you use the self keyword. Now, self isn't actually a keyword. It's just the common... Everyone uses the word self. You could make this anything you wanted, but people use self. You should probably stick to using self. And self references the current instance of the object, as opposed to another instance of the object, right? When objects access their own data and not something else's, that's the concept of encapsulation, or capsule, I think. And that is basically each object has its own set of data, and they don't interfere with each other unless you explicitly tell them to. It's a way to kind of keep things safe. So when you're doing object methods, the first parameter should always be self, and this is included with the constructor. And then if you want to add a property to it, you do self dot. Since it's a vehicle, let's just say it has. Let's say it has wheels, or let's say it has a number of wheels, right? Or I should be, yeah, let's go with that. And let's just set it to, let's make it a 4-wheel vehicle right now, okay? So that creates, anytime we create a new vehicle, hey, come on in. Whoop. Hey, welcome to the party. You might just want to look on because there's a lot of setup that we had to do. So, yeah. Where was I? So now, any vehicle we create has a property called numWheels, and that value that's stored there is 4. So we could do something like print my vehicle. Whoa, typing is hard. Typing is still hard. Dot numWheels. If we do that, you can see we get, let's actually do something like this. There we go. Okay. And then you'll see that it prints out the number of wheels is 4. Questions so far? Again, not rocket science. But here's the cool thing. We can change that value and PyCharm also does nice little autocomplete, so you can just hit enter and it'll complete it for you. We can change it to a 3-wheeler, not a 23-wheeler. That would be terrifying. And then we could print the same thing, right? And you know, again, just like with any variables before, it changes the value, no big deal. Give people a minute to catch up. Now the interesting part is that we can create a second vehicle. And again, this is like super basic. Let's call it second vehicle. And do that. And now oh geez, that's terrible. Let's do this. There we go. Yeah, complain. Now the nice part you don't have to have this backslash. I just did that so I could have a new line. But this is to kind of show encapsulation. We have one class, but we've created 2 separate objects from that class, and each has their own independent set of data. This is useful if you're making a website and you have users. You don't want them all to have the same first name and last name and password, right? Or cars, or snacks, which, thank you so much for bringing the snacks. This is amazing. But, yeah, so this is kind of just a brief demonstration of encapsulation. Is everyone caught up to here so far? Cool. And now this is going to be kind of a review, but what we can do is in our constructor is like any other method. We can have it take parameters in. One of these parameters could be number of wheels. So we could do something like this, and instead of hard coding num wheels to 4, we could just set num wheels to the input num wheels. Now here's the thing. What are you complaining about? Argument name should be lower. Oh, go away. Actually, I should probably follow that. Killing me. Yeah, chill out. Okay, there we go. It's a little better. Actually, that's what all these should be called. I'm just a terrible person. Whoops. Sorry, guys. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just trying to be... I don't like it when PyCharm complains at me. There's a style guide, like you shouldn't have capitals in certain things and all that. So in this case, vehicle will expect that you give it at least one parameter. Or, I'm sorry, exactly one parameter. In this case, that parameter would be wheels. Remember, because self is implied. Okay? So now, this will actually break. Or it should break. Yeah. Because it has a required positional argument, num wheels. Okay? And here, we're not calling anything. But the nice part, too, is that with functions, you can set default values. And the way you do that is you just say equals 4. And then if that parameter is not provided, Python will just go, oh, they didn't give it to me? I'll just assume it should be 4. And then it should just work. Magic. Okay? But because we have this parameter now, instead of doing something like this, where we set it after the fact, we can just say, hey, when you start, let's just set numWheels to 4 and be done with it. And there we go, or to 3, sorry. So first vehicle wheels, there we go. Questions so far? Or is it still too basic? See, I'm terrified of going faster because I'm terrified I'm going to lose people. So that covers... What should we do next? Should we do that or that? Let's do... What do they do next? Let's do... Yeah, we did that. They jumped to that? No, I'm not going to jump to that yet. So now, the cool part too is that we can... You don't have only the constructor. You can define any method for these. So you can say, hey, maybe I want to have the car drive. And when it drives, I want to say, I'm driving on self.numWheels. Let's do this. Whoa, cool. This is a giant. Let's readjust. Much better. Hear a few people typing. And folks, remember, if I'm going too fast or if you miss something, be like, yo, Beach, stop. And I will stop. And then you can tell me what you need. Okay. So now, instead of doing this printing right here, we can just say my vehicle.drive. And if we were to run this, you'll see it prints that out. I'm driving on 3 wheels. Okay? Because we have said that every object of class vehicle has a new function called drive, and it prints this. And this numWheels is unique for every instance, for every self of vehicles, for every unique object. I see a bunch of people looking up and then at their computers. So tell me what you're looking for and I will scroll to it. Good? Sorry? Mm. Yeah. So the print method, if you use a comma, it does that conversion for you. Yeah. If you need to do that conversion manually, you can do this. Yeah. String, and then parentheses. You need to cast it. But if you just use the comma, it just works. Print is very smart. So there's that. And again, this just allows us to use drive instead of kind of accessing the individual things themselves. You guys in the back, is it okay if I make this a little smaller so we can fit more text on the screen? Maybe 24, is that? Can you still read that? Alright, cool. There we go. Now we can fit more text on the screen. And there's one other, well, I guess 2 other. There's one other built-in method that I strongly recommend you define. It's kind of similar to init. It's __str. Okay? And str, remember when we had this print statement where we just printed my vehicle directly? And we got that really weird text that didn't make a whole lot of stuff. It was like random stuff vehicle class. String tells, or s underscore underscore str underscore underscore tells functions like print or anything like that how to describe your class. So then instead of printing junk 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 vehicle, it would print whatever this returns. So we could say return a vehicle with, and because we're not doing the print thing, this is when you'd want to do your casting, self.numWheels. And for those of you who don't remember this, this is casting or changing the data type of numWheels, which is normally an integer. We're changing it to a string so that we can combine it with other strings. And now if you run this, when we just print my vehicle directly, it actually, all it does is call this and then print that out. Okay? So that's just really, really, really useful. I strongly recommend you always define a string thing in case someone else needs to work with your code. It's just easier if they can print out your object and they get a meaningful description. Especially if your object has some sort of unique identifier. In this case, vehicles could have the same number of wheels, so that doesn't really apply, but you get the idea. Questions so far? So we'll do that. I hate the way Python does that. Okay, cool. I hear a lot of typing, so I'm letting people get their notes down or catch up. Does anyone need me to scroll up or down or anything? What do you got? Okay, so anything that belongs inside a function should be indented. So your print and yourself, lines 3 and 4. Lines 3 and 4, yeah, you should indent those. There you go. There you go. And then you should also indent line 10. Because Python says that whenever you have something indented, it belongs in whatever has the colon before it. Okay. Then why is it still complaining? What the hell? Why is it complaining? Can you mouse over unresolved reference to... Oh, wait, what? Does it not know we're writing Python? Can you do me a favor and hit more? Is that 2 underscores or 1 underscore? What? Does it run when you try to run it? Oh, you need a space between the return and the quote here? Oh, you need a space between def and the underscore. That's why, yeah. Def is a keyword. And then the same for string. There we go. Now you're good. Okay. Are you good? 괜찮아? Cool. Alright, so this is kind of vehicle stuff, right? Nothing super fancy. But we can go further with this because when you have a vehicle, right? A vehicle is kind of generic, right? It could have it might not even be a wheeled vehicle. For our purposes, we're going to assume it has wheels because then it gets way too complex if we don't. But um, you might have a car which would have four wheels, or you might have a motorcycle which would have two, or it could be a unicycle for all we know. So there are ways to, but we wouldn't want to have to create all this all over again, right? Why would we write the same code twice? Programming is supposed to be dry. Dry is short for don't repeat yourself. Um, so what we can do is we can create another class called car, and we can say that the car inherits from the vehicle. And for now, I'm just going to write pass. Whatever. Fine, be that way. Complaining. So this establishes a relationship of inheritance. In object-oriented programming, when one class inherits from another, all of the properties and all of the methods from the parent class, the class we're inheriting from, are automatically defined for the child class. Okay, so you have parent class, which you can also call superclass, and then you have the child class, which you can also call the subclass. Okay? So in this case, car is going to have a drive method because we defined it in vehicle and we're inheriting from vehicle. So if we go down here and we just, let's call it my car equals car, right? And then we print, or let's do my car.drive. That will just work. Let me scroll back up to... Can I get both in the same thing? Can I? Nope, not quite. Maybe if I do something like this. Hey! Actually, wait, I can collapse this, can't I? No, no, no. There's a way. There's a way. I know there's a way. No, no, no. I know there's a way to do this. Go to collapse. Folding. Collapse. Control numpad minus. But of course it doesn't work. Really? Alright, whatever. Okay? So again, because vehicle has a drive method defined, and we, as a car, are inheriting from vehicle, this is how you denote inheritance. We can just call it right away, and then we get our output. Questions so far? Cool. Now we're going to get into why we're using PyCharm. Over here, does everyone have a second tab here on the left side called structure, or no? Okay, that might just be because I was doing... What you can do is if at the top you hit view, and you go to tool windows, and you go to structure, or if you hit alt 7, but I can never remember all that, this structure pane will show up. And then this is super useful because you get an outline including all these built-in things. Is there a way to hide those? Well, that sucks. These are all the kind of built-in methods. You can click this button if you want to hide them. But this allows us to navigate all around our code very quickly and easily. Okay? So I can go look at the car definition, or I can go look at vehicle's constructor, or I can look at vehicle's string definition. All just with a single click. Super easy. Questions? Or people?
What's the red lock?
Which one?
I can see a little red lock. Okay. Lock.
Oh, I believe that means it's a built-in. Yeah. So when Python, so there's a naming convention within Python. When you start a method or a variable with two underscores, you're kind of there's nothing in Python that actually enforces this, but you're suggesting to any future developers like, hey, this is supposed to be a hidden thing. I'm not expecting you to edit this directly. If you do need to mess with this, there's some other way to do it, or I don't want you messing with it. So that the lock is kind of a logical, like, don't touch this. So in this case, we're saying, hey, here's the definition for string. Don't mess with it. Um, so the nice part, is that we don't necessarily have to just accept everything that vehicle is given us, right? Like maybe when we have a car, we don't want to call it a vehicle in our string definition. Maybe we want to call it a car. Python and most object-oriented languages allow you to override the properties or methods of any superclasses. Okay? So that means that I can say, hey, yeah, sure, vehicle defined a string method, but I want to define my own. And you can just do that. Return a car. There's got to be a way to... And then if we just try to print my car, you'll see that we get the output a car. I'm actually just going to blow this up for now. Actually, there's got to be a way to fold this. I know there is. Folding. There we go. Control period. Got it. There we go. Cool. There, is that a little easier? So yeah, we can always override any values we get. Um, yeah, we covered that. That's fine. I highlighted the text and I did control period. Yeah. It's also, if you go to the code tab and you go to folding, it's fold selection / remove region. Just a nice way to organize. And then if you need to expand it, you can, and then you can collapse it again. Super nifty. Again, IDE things, they're beautiful. So we did that. We did that. We did that. Oh, this is cool. So maybe so that's how you do overriding. The nice part is that you can also override the parent's constructor, right? So maybe with a car, when we define it and when we give it some number of wheels, we don't only want to give it the number of wheels. Maybe we want to also give it a color. Or maybe we want to force it to have a number of wheels, but we don't want to write that all from scratch again. So we can just do something like define init self, right? And in this case, we're not going to take any, we're not going to take any parameters in to start with. And we can just say, call the superclass's constructor, whoops, and just give it 4 wheels. Does this make sense? So we are using the superclasses constructor within the cars constructor. Yeah. So instead of, because maybe like in the real world, the vehicles constructor, maybe it does a whole bunch of stuff. And we don't have to want to have to write all of that again. Let's just call the vehicles constructor, have it do its work, and then we can add work on top of that. Like maybe we can, maybe in addition to just, maybe we can take in a color. And let's have the default color be black, because black cars are slick. And then we can say self.color equals whatever color is input, right? And that way, we're using vehicles constructor and we're doing our own stuff on top of that. So then we can also say, we're going to get super fancy here. Now if we run this, we see that it's a black car. It's automatically on 4 wheels because we forced it to be on 4 wheels. So yeah. All of the typing. Oh, that's right. Okay, cool. Questions?
Yeah, so how does, I think I understand how it goes for builds you to the super.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of dramatic because that's what's in the vehicle, right?
So remember, vehicles constructor takes in a parameter called numWheels,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're just feeding it that parameter.
But what if there were, what if there were like two things?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Not in Python.
Okay. So
Uh,
it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to like tell it before that ever.
oh, so what you could do is, I think I see what you're getting at. So we could do something like, size. We could do something like um, year. Thank you. And then, actually, this is really good. I should have covered this earlier. And then we can set these to default values, right? Um, and then the cool part is that when you have parameters with default values, and this is true of any function, um, you can call them by name. So let's say we didn't want to put numWheels since we know it defaults to 4, but maybe we wanted to have the year be 2014. You could just do year equals 2014. That allows you to call parameters out of order. And that eliminates the need for having multiple versions of the constructor. Does that answer your question? Cool. Of course, these aren't actually being stored anywhere. We're not storing them. We're just taking them as inputs and then nothing's happening. If we wanted to store them, we would need to do something like this. And now we're storing them, because we're defining them on the object. Otherwise, they're just given to the function, and the function goes, cool, I have inputs. I'm not going to do anything with them. And the cool part, too, is that in your navigation, it will show you That way you don't have to keep scrolling around. The structure navigation will show you, oh, hey, here's the parameters for that method, and here are their default values. That just makes life a hell of a lot easier. So, that's a thing. Um, and most IDEs will do that. So if you're using Java and you're using like Eclipse or something, it'll do that. Um, well, except Eclipse, Java doesn't have default, whatever. Question? Yeah.
Is it possible to have two constructors?
No.
No.
Yeah. That's why they give optional parameters. S
One constructor is allowed.
correct.
Okay.
So if I do, at least I'm pretty sure. Whoops. I could be a liar. I could be a liar. Huh. I might be a liar. It should be complaining at me. I could be wrong. Let's find out. Um, okay, so that happens. So it's only recognizing. Ah, so in this case, it's recognizing the latest definition of init.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you try to define the same function multiple times, it'll take whatever the latest definition is, which effectively means no. Like it won't prevent you from doing it, but it doesn't like it. So that's why they allow, because in Java, that's your background, right? Yeah, so in Java you would overload the constructor with a different set of parameters by providing optional parameters that you can provide in any order as long as you call them by name, as we do down here. That eliminates the need for overloading. Now, yes, that might mean you have more logic, because if a parameter in Java, like if a parameter isn't provided, you might behave differently. In this, you're just going to have to do if statements and stuff like that. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool.
Another question.
Yeah.
Can I remove super init the line?
Yeah.
I don't. I only use the default values, like default arguments.
That's a good question. Let's find out.
I tried, but I failed.
And let's do self.year. Yeah. So any work that's done by the constructor, like setting the value of year, doesn't work. It never occurs. So the super class's constructor is only called if you explicitly call it.
That means whenever you override the constructor of the parent, you should include the super
Correct.
statement on the first line.
Yes. That's very important. Did everyone hear that? So for the recording, Dale made the point that if your superclass's constructor does any sort of initialization of values, like setting the wheels or the size or the year, it is you almost effectively must override, or sorry, must call the superclass's constructor to have all that work done. That work does not automatically get done. You must call the parent class's constructor to make that happen. So, good question. Any other questions? I see some gears turning. I also see a lot of blank stares. All right.
So what information is it getting from the parent?
In this case, the parent is setting num wheels, size, and year. All right. If we were to remove this, right, and then we try to use year when we print the car, it's going to complain because it's like, I don't know what year is, because the superclass defined year, and because we weren't calling the superclass's constructor, year wasn't getting defined. Answers your question? Cool. Um, wow. All right, cool. So next is properties. So we have, yeah, we're not going to finish this, but I didn't expect to, so that's okay. Um, so in other languages, you have the ability to kind of hide your variables and keep other developers from messing with them, right? Um, Python, everything is public. Everything can be accessed by anything, and you can modify it as you please. But there are ways that you can kind of put safeguards around it. Again, it doesn't completely block, but you can discourage it. And you can also have certain actions occur whenever a value is retrieved or changed. So, so for example, let's say that whenever, let's say if we had to change, let's say we wanted to change the color of the car, right? But maybe we wanted to, whenever someone changed the color of the car, we want to announce that they got a paint job. Okay, you can do that using properties. So we can say something like first let's do uh, something like set color, right? And let's say it takes in a color name, or let's just say it takes in a color. Okay, and then we can say this car got a paint job. Apparently that's 2 words. And then we can say self.color equals color, right? Or better yet, when you do something like this, you want to kind of hide your variable. So you would want to call it double underscore color. And then this has to match. Okay? So that kind of tells other developers, hey, don't mess with this. And then what we can do. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good eye. And then we could say, hey, color, and the self is implied here. Oh, crap. I forgot something. I'm sorry. You also have to define a get. Is that true? I don't think that's true. That sounds funny. Yeah, we can just do this. And then we can define one called color. Or let's not call it color. Let's call it get color. And let's say when you get the color, let's have it print you look at the car. Because you have to look at the car to see what color it is. I have terrible humor, I'm sorry. I was that's what I forgot. I was actually gonna try to have us make a fantasy game. So like you'd have an inventory and all that stuff. We'll probably do that next time. Because that's fun. And then we can say color is crazy Python 3 syntax that I don't remember. Whoops, get color, set color. So what this does is the color property itself is kind of hidden, or at least we're kind of saying, hey, don't touch this, right? But we're saying that if they try to get the color, if they try to access the color as a property, go ahead and call this getColor method. Okay? If they try to change the color, right, then the second one is to try to change it. Call this setColor method instead. Okay? Doesn't make a lot of sense now, but give me just a second. It'll make a lot more sense. I promise. Uh-oh, was he yelling at me? Huh? Where? Whoa, what? Whoa, this thing is tripping out. Hold up, hold up. Sorry guys, give me a second. Line 48. Huh? Oh, whoops. It didn't like that the year is an integer, we have to convert it to a string. So if you don't have that, go ahead and do that. There we go. So now, you see this, we printed here car color, but it also printed, you look at the car before it. Because we said that anytime someone tries to access the color property, call getColor. Okay? And now if we try to change the color, can someone tell me what's going to happen? Yes, what will it print? Yep. Yep, exactly. So if we do mycar.color equals blue, this car got a paint job. So that's a way that you can kind of, whenever someone wants to access or change a property on a class, this is how you can mess with that. You could even prevent them from changing it. But that's up to you. You could instead say, we could for, oh, here we go. This is actually a perfect example. So does everyone understand this part so far? What is it complaining about? I'm not doing a block comment. Whatever. Questions? Yeah, sorry. The correction was in the cars string method. I forgot to convert the year to a string. Since we're doing normal string concatenation, it needs to be a string. Any questions? Is anyone completely lost? Was that a look of I'm bored, or was that a look of I might be completely lost but I don't want to say it? Okay. So that's one way of doing properties. And another way is to use what are called annotations. So we could do something like, let's say that we wanted to, because it's a car, and to change the number of wheels would not make it a car anymore. It would be something else. Let's try to prevent that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to be lazy real quick, and I'm going to be lazy. You wouldn't normally want to do it this way, but I'm just going to do this. And yeah, we have it defined twice, but I don't want to go back and rewrite it everything. So we're just going to do that. Is that a good way to? Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So I added this in because I want num wheels to be hidden. Crap, you know what? I should change it everywhere, shouldn't I? Crap. Well, maybe, does PyCharm do that? Yes! Okay, cool. Forget that. So here's a property of PyCharm. So if you go ahead and highlight num wheels, and you go to refactor, rename, it will find anywhere that you reference this property, and it'll rename it for you. So you can say underscore underscore num wheel. Refactor. Bam, changed it everywhere. Easy mode. IDEs are your friend. They also make coding a breeze. Okay. Now, did we actually access num wheels directly anywhere here? We did. Oh well. So now, in my car, I can, what I can do is I can say, wait, what? Is that required? Whatever, we'll roll with it. Um, we can say, right, nothing fancy there. We're just saying that, hey, oh, whoops. In this case, we're just going to create a getter, similar to how we did get color. We can instead say, instead of doing this step right here, we can kind of skip that. You can use this annotation right here to say, hey, use this as the getter, or the get color, in this case get wheels. It's just saying, if we were to try to do car.numWheels, this would work. And then we can also do numWheels.setter. Whoops. The ampersand. This is an annotation or a decorator. It basically tells Python to take a special behavior. This specific one says that the next function should be treated like a property, kind of like a getter. So you could do mycar.numWheels, and then it would execute this function without actually calling it a function. You would you would call it as if it were a variable. All right, so let's demonstrate that. Right, so this is, as we defined it, this is a function. But if we go down to my car and we do print mycar.numWheels, you'll notice that we don't have another set of parentheses. We're not calling it like a function. Let's go ahead and get rid of this test vehicle. We don't need it. Huh? Huh? Nani? Man, are you really going to be like that? Man, screw you, Python. Give me a second to think. Is it actually hiding it? No way, it's actually hiding it. I guess that behavior changed. They used to not hide it, now they're actually hiding it. Because that is the same, right? Yep, that's exactly the same. Well, I'm a filthy liar. Okay. Um, hmm. So I'm just gonna move this up to, can we move it? Will refactor do that? Move. What's that? Refactor move? Using, that sucks. Okay. So I'm actually going to take this property definition and I'm going to move it up into the vehicle and I'm going to change a bunch of stuff. So we're going to move this up into the vehicle. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. So now if you see this num wheels property in the vehicle now. Crap, does it not like that? That sucks. What if I do this? Sorry guys, I'm kind of experimenting at this point because I did not expect this to work in this manner. I promise I'll go back through and cover everything that I'm changing in a second. Then we should be able to... It still doesn't like that?
Why don't you put under,
Oh, because it needs to be a property. Huh?
I mean, in the method name,
Uh-huh.
why don't you add underbar underbar in front of the method name?
Because then when we... Oh, I see. To solve that problem? Yeah, I could do that. Let's try that. Yeah, that would... It's totally janky, but it will work. Or it should work at least. Um, so let's do... This is so terrible. This is so terrible. Sorry. Once I confirm this works, then we'll stop it and I'll show. Where? What? That is not what it's written in the documentation. Okay, so if you define a property without defining a setter, it doesn't let you set it. Sorry guys, I'm learning here too now. So it's not letting me set it from the constructor. Wow. Python 2 is not like that. How the hell are you supposed to get around that? Oh, cause then the method is trying to call itself. And then yeah, it can't have the same name. You can't give it the same name. Crap. I gotta tie this up quick because it's gonna take too much time. If we do this, too many blank line, whatever. Get over it. Okay, so that works, and then this doesn't work. That sucks. I guess we'll just have to do it twice, which is dumb. I'll let you know if I figure out a better way to do this, but for now we're just going to do it this way. Because it should be set from the inheritance. Maybe Python 3 just doesn't do that. Okay. All right, so what we did was in the vehicle class, we went ahead and we refactored num wheels to underscore underscore num wheels. Okay. And then we made a property function. And we printed out that we're calling num wheels like a property just to kind of demonstrate what we were doing. And then we actually spit out the num wheels because that's what you have to do with a getter. You have to return the value that they're asking for. What's up? Did you figure it out?
Yes.
What's up?
In the constructor,
Mm.
you change the name. Actually, you added double underscore.
Right.
So I guess double underscore means
Private.
yes.
Yeah.
So can you try to remove the
But then I have a name collision when I try to do it down here.
okay?
Is that right? At least I think I do. Unless it overwrites.
Control
Try it? Yeah, let's try it, see what happens. Ah! That was weird. It got rid of both. Okay, so now this is going to complain. And
You
this.
should refactor like you did.
Oh, you're right. You are right, sir. All right, much better. And it's only two spots. I'm not worried about refactoring. Does that work? Yeah, it's trying to call itself because it's a name collision. Yeah.
But my point was that you can access the property.
The underscore.
Yeah, if you remove the double underscore,
You can access
yeah,
it.
you can access it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
So I want to try something. Does this work as it is? Oh, where? Oh. Oh, that's right, because we hit it behind the getter and setter. Okay. Okay, so that works. So I want to test something real quick. Let's do this on car, just because I'm sick of having to deal with vehicle. Uh, let's call it fake equals 10. Will it let me access that? Oh, come on. I can. So why was it complaining earlier?
but it didn't autocomplete, so I thought.
Yeah, well, the problem is I couldn't do that before. That is so weird. That is some crazy voodoo magic right there. Okay. Maybe doubles aren't inherited? No, that wouldn't make any sense either. That totally ruins my example. Alright, well, I don't know what to tell you guys. We're just gonna have to. This might be something fun to tinker with on our own time, because I don't want to take up too much of the class time with. I don't want to take up any more time with this than I have already. So, the property annotation allows us to define a getter. So when we try to access it for reading, this function is called instead. Um, and then we can do whatever logic we want in here, right? Like maybe we could have a counter for how many times it was accessed or something, right? Doesn't matter. But you want to make sure that unless you're trying to prevent them from accessing it, you want to make sure that you return whatever the value is that they're looking for. Okay? And then for the setter, you want to make sure that this has the same name as the property definition. Otherwise, it's not going to know what the hell you're talking about. That was the error we were having in car. Um, could I have... I'm not going to mess with it. And so you use the same name here as you use here, and then you just say setter. And then you can... and then you can do things like prevent access. In this case, we're just going to have it behave normally because it's on the vehicle, right? And maybe you can change the number of wheels on a vehicle. Sure, why not, right? But we're going to do the same thing in the car. Okay, so similar thing. But this time on a car, we're not going to allow them to change the number of wheels. Right? So now, if we say let's try to change the number of wheels to 5. It says, oh, whoops, and then let's go ahead and print the car again. Oh, it doesn't have... Can't remember anything. Not the debugger. Okay. Even though we tried to set the number of wheels to 5, because in our setter we didn't do that, the number of wheels remains 4. Does that make sense? So that's a way that you can kind of block access. Now, we could still, in theory, do we could do that. Ooh. Ooh, get wrecked. Damn. Well, I guess it isn't allowed. That is not what the documentation says. But okay. So I guess that also prevents access, period. So, well, there we go. I learned something new. That was frustrating. Did I lose everyone on that part? Damn. Okay. Well, let me recap then. So, I lost myself on that for a minute too. I think Dale was the only one who was with it. Um, so what we have is you can use a property to change the way a property of the class behaves when you try to access it, when you try to read the value. So when you try to do card or mycar.numWheels, it will do whatever you have defined here instead. Okay? You could return a completely different value for all I cared, or you could increment a counter. This is just a function. You can do anything inside a function, right? And then the same goes for the setter, right? The way that you define a setter is you do the ampersand, or not the ampersand, the at symbol, and then you basically mimic the name of this function right here, and then you say it's a setter. Okay, and this function will be called if you ever try to change the numWheels value. It will run this function instead. And then you can have this function go ahead and change the number of wheels, or you can have it not, or you can have it do anything. Again, it's a function, so you can do anything you want in here. Okay? Does that make a little more sense? The reason that I was running into confusion was because I was thinking that I could define the property on the parent class and not define it in the child class, and it would just kind of work. But apparently not, because you can see the red line. It's like, I don't know what numWheels is. But as soon as we define the property, then it knows what numWheels is. Now it's not complaining. So if you want the setter, you must also set the property. So that's a thing. Make sense? Yeah, it's really weird to me.
So which way is recommended between using annotations
Mm.
and the proper structure? The grammar
Yeah, the grammar is very different. Um,
annotations are
I think they're new. This doesn't like this whole concept was completely new to me before 2 or 3 days ago.
all okay.
So
Brand new.
yeah, it's brand new. So, but I also didn't know Python 3 before I started this class. I was a Python 2 guy. So basically, I'm just teaching myself before I come here. So I would imagine that the annotation is probably favored because this can be anywhere in your code, right? Like I could have these get color set color functions up here, and I could go put this at the bottom if I want it, or anywhere within my class. I could go put this down here if I wanted to. It's not a good idea, but I could, right? Whereas if I just did something like, oh, you know what? I bet it depends on your use case. Because I bet that you could call getColor directly. Let's try it. Yeah, you can still call it directly. Whereas when you call, so that's when you use this property. You can still call the original function name directly instead of using it via the property. When you use the annotation, you're only accessing it as a property. So does that make sense? So my guess, this is a guess, is that you could do something like this. I don't know. Will it complain if I try to do that? Huh, it doesn't complain. So maybe let's actually have it be blank, and let's do something. This might be cool. Um, we would want a space in between, right? Um, yeah, so we change the color to blue that way. And what if we do blue plus a tone of light? Wait, that's not what I want. I want this. Or no. Yeah, I want to set, but you're right. You're right. I made a mistake. Or no, oh, yeah. You're right. So, whoops, my bad. So we could do my car dot set color blue light, and then we can print my car. Is that not what I wanted to do? What? Where is it? What? Whoa, what? Sorry, I'm losing track of all the console output. Whoa. It is not printing anything. What the hell is going on here? What is going on here? I think we're breaking Python. Granted, this is silly. This shouldn't change anything, but I'm trying it anyway. Oh, that's so weird. Whoa, here we go. What do we got? Get color takes one positional argument, but two were given. Where was get color? There it is. Did I mean to do set color? No, the one is self. The first parameter is self. So, yeah, I'm an idiot, basically. Okay, there we go. Ah. So yeah, the reason that you would want to do... Oh, where the hell is it? Here we go. The reason that you might want to do this instead of the annotation is that when you do it... Actually, maybe you could still do it with this. I don't know. But we're out of time to experiment. So this allows you to call the function directly and still allows you to call it as if it were a setter. Does that make sense? So we could either do color equals blue, or we could call set color. Right? Those are running. Those two actions. Can I multi-highlight? Of course not. So this action and this action, they're calling the same function. Because this function is set as the setter for color. Does that make sense? I've got half the room nodding and half the room just staring.
So basically, we have two ways to set colors, right?
Yes. You can either do it the property way by just doing mycar.color equals whatever, or you could do mycar.setColor and then give it the color the tone if you want to. Does that make sense? But I don't think this could be a mandatory parameter. I don't think you could do this. It would complain. Because then the setter wouldn't work.
I remember you also mentioned there's a way to prevent, prevent
It was to it was to discourage. But I mean, but it looked like this ended up preventing it. Remember, we tried to set num wheel the double underscore num wheels directly, and it still did 4. Yeah. So I think that prevents it. I think at least that's the behavior I'm seeing. Yeah. I think you're right. Yes. That's a good way of saying it. So, I told you objects were crazy. Any questions? I know this one was really hard, guys. I apologize, but this is where stuff gets really complex. It gets slightly harder from here, but I'll do more testing next time to make sure we don't run into this silly stuff. So, can someone explain to me what a getter is? Then that means I've failed. No, 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 no. That was really close. You're on the right track. Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So it's a function that retrieves a variable and spits it out. It's often used when you keep a variable private. Um, yeah. So yes. So can someone tell me? Can someone who's not him tell me what a setter is? It's okay to be wrong. Using a using a nope, the other one. Objects have properties and starts with the def keyword. Almost. So what do you call this? Or I'm sorry, what do you call this? Uh, yes, a function. Yeah, yeah. The vocabulary. So a getter is a method that you use to retrieve a property. Okay? A method or a function that you use to retrieve a property from an object. A setter is a method that you use to set a property on an object. The reason that you would use a getter or a setter instead of accessing the property directly is to either prevent access to the property, like maybe you don't want to allow them to set it, or you want to carry out additional actions from getting your setting. Like you want to print something, or maybe you want to change something else too. So does that make a little more sense?
But can you use those to change the information, the actual information of the property? Like just using just for additional purposes too?
Yeah. So we could have. Correct. It's not. It's well. What do you mean by independent in this context?
So you said it's used for to prevent access, so it's not like a dummy function inside of there to trick people. Not trick,
But kind of discourage. You can use it that way. You don't have to. Yeah. It is. It is a function that you use to access a property instead of accessing the property directly. What you do in that function is up to you. You can not change the property, Or you can change the property but do some other stuff. Or you can just change the property. It's up to you. It's a function. You can do anything inside a function. Does that make sense? Cool. Any other questions? Cool. All right. So we are pretty much out of time. And we're about maybe 2/3 of the way through objects. So next time we'll finish up with objects. I'll also review. I'll have my thoughts a little more cohesive when we review as well. Um, and I'll also make sure to tonight I won't be able to, but by the end of tomorrow evening, I'll have this up. I'll have this uploaded to GitHub, and I'll clean it up a little bit, and I'll put tons of clear comments. Okay? Because I know that this time was really rough. So, any other questions or anything you want to try or play with for the last 5 minutes? Feel free. Hmm. Mm. So for everyone's information, regular expressions is a special search language that pretty much every other language implements somehow. It's used for finding text. It's also a personal favorite thing of mine. Do they cover that in the book? They better cover that in the book. Ooh. They do. It's actually right after objects. So we will cover that. We'll probably only cover it briefly because you could spend an entire day, much more than 2 hours, just doing regular expressions. So we'll probably just do the basics. But if anyone wants to learn regular expressions, I would love to talk to someone all day about regular expressions. So I'm kidding, I won't. But if regular expressions are, I'll just do a super brief demonstration. So let's say, actually no, we'll do. I actually promise it'll be brief. So let's say we did, and I'm not going to put this in the video because this would just confuse people. So let's say you had text like this, right? This would be a regular expression. So you could do something like this, right? And that will, I mean, the rendering's a little bit off, but it's a way to search for text. But you can do not just plain text, you can do something like \d is any digit, right? \w is any word character, right? Again, the rendering's a little bit off on these first few lines. But you can also do crazy stuff like match. Let's do that. So we could do, no, let's do a phone number. So you could do, wait, really? Oh, right. Yeah, it's its own language. So I love this stuff. But those are regular expressions. Yeah. So that's actually a really basic regular expression for a phone number. They can get much longer than that, but it's a really powerful way to search text. Like this will match. Actually, if I do this will match a phone number with or without a country code, or with or without a U.S. country code, and it'll match with or without hyphens. And I could also make it match with or without the parentheses and all that sort of stuff. So it's a way of flexibly and intelligently searching text.
So do most languages use those same parameters? Like,
Yeah, yeah. There's a specific name for the regular expression rules that they follow. There's POSIX regular expressions, which is kind of the more basic ones, and then there's PCRE or Perl compliant regular expressions. Perl is another programming language, and they did lots of really crazy stuff with regular expressions, and everyone's like, "That's really cool. Let's just copy that." So that's regular expressions. But I don't want to talk about it anymore because I won't stop. But yeah, if you have questions about this, let me know. You could use it for searching, like if you're trying to find some sort of text on a web page, or you could also use it for validating. So let's say you're having someone register for your website, and you want to require that their password have like an uppercase character or lowercase character. You could write a regular expression that would only match if it had all the criteria, and then you could check to see if the regular expression matches or not. You can also use it to validate phone numbers, to validate email addresses, to validate URLs, all that sort of stuff. So useful for searching text, validating text. Those are pretty much the two major cases.
Or to make your code a lot shorter. Yeah, right?
Potentially.
Yeah. Think about implement the code.
Oh God.
Code.
Shorter.
Edit just one line.
Shorter in characters, but maybe 20 times as long to read. So, yeah. I love regular expressions. There are regular expression crossword puzzles too. That stuff's really fun. But, yeah. If you just search, I don't know it off the top of my head. I just search regular expression, regex crossword. I think it might just be regexcrossword.info. .com. So yeah, and the crazy part is you can do like, am I not logged in? There we are. I am logged in. Oh, I must not have done it on this account. But you can do no. Let's do. You can do crazy stuff like that. This is fun. But yeah. And each of these describes some pattern that text must follow. So you have to figure out like how these two intersect, and then how these two intersect, and so on and so forth. So it's fun stuff, but it's honestly regular expressions aren't. I mean, they're really really useful, but they're not used very often. And most of the important problems have already been solved. Like there is a regular expression out there to match most emails. You don't need to write it yourself. You just go copy it. So it's not, while I enjoy doing it, it's not the most useful skill. So you don't want to spend too much time learning this stuff unless it's for fun. So yeah. Cool. Thank you for asking. It's fine. Cool. So thank you everyone for joining, and I apologize if it was a little bit crazy today, but we'll figure it out. And thank you, recording. Goodbye.